Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Our first story is titled, My Husband's Friend Tried to Sabotage Our Family Vacation. I'm Victoria, 35 years old, and I've been married to my wonderful husband Aaron for 12 years now. We have two amazing kids, Kylie, who's 10, and Max, who's 7. Life's been pretty good for us, but our recent family vacation turned into an unexpected nightmare, all thanks to my husband's so-called friend, Scott. Let me start from the beginning. Aaron and Scott have been friends since college. They were roommates and stayed close even after graduation. Scott was Aaron's best man at our wedding, and he's been a constant presence in our lives ever since. He's always been a bit of a wild card, the perpetual bachelor, always up for a good time, and never quite settling down. But we accepted him as part of our extended family. About 6 months ago, Aaron and I decided it was time for a proper family vacation. We'd been saving up for years, and we wanted to take the kids on a 2-week trip to Hawaii. We were all so excited. The kids had never been on a plane before, and the idea of beaches, volcanoes, and tropical adventures had us all counting down the days. One evening, while we were discussing our plans over dinner, Aaron casually mentioned that he told Scott about our upcoming trip. "Well, Scott was pretty excited when I told him about Hawaii," Aaron said between bites of lasagna. "He's always wanted to go there." I felt a little twinge of unease at that. "You didn't invite him, did you?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Aaron looked surprised. "No, of course not. This is our family vacation. I was just sharing our plans with him." I nodded, relieved. Don't get me wrong, I liked Scott well enough, but this trip was supposed to be just for us. A chance for our little family to bond and create some amazing memories together. As the weeks went by, we got more and more excited. We bought new swimsuits for the kids, started packing our suitcases, and even learned a few Hawaiian words. Kylie and Max would run around the house shouting aloha at random intervals, giggling every time. Then about 2 weeks before we were set to leave, the trouble started. It was a Sunday afternoon, and Aaron was out in the backyard mowing the lawn. I was in the kitchen making a shopping list for our trip when Aaron's phone, which he'd left on the counter, started ringing. I glanced at it and saw Scott's name on the screen. I called out to Aaron, but the sound of the lawnmower drowned out my voice. The phone stopped ringing, then started up again almost immediately. Thinking it might be important, I answered. "Hey, Aaron's phone, this is Victoria," I said. There was a pause. Then Scott's voice came through, sounding a bit slurred. "Oh, hey, Victoria, is Aaron around?" It was barely 2 p.m., and Scott already sounded like he'd had a few drinks. "He's mowing the lawn. Can I take a message?" Nah, it's cool," Scott said. "Just wanted to check in about the trip. Make sure you guys didn't forget to pack me." Her heart sank. "Scott, what are you talking about?" Scott laughed a bit too loudly. "The Hawaii trip. Aaron said you guys wouldn't mind if I tagged along. Said it'd be fun to have an extra set of hands with the kids and all that." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "Scott, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This is a family vacation. Aaron and I haven't discussed you coming along." There was a long pause. When Scott spoke again, his voice had lost its jovial tone. "Oh, I see. Well, that's awkward. Aaron definitely gave me the impression I was welcome, and in fact, I've already bought my ticket." I closed my eyes trying to keep my composure. "I'm sorry, Scott, but there must have been a miscommunication. We'll have to sort this out. I'll have Aaron call you back, okay?" I hung up before he could respond, my mind reeling. Had Aaron really invited Scott without discussing it with me? That didn't sound like him at all. We always made big decisions together, especially when it came to family matters. When Aaron finally came in from mowing the lawn, I was waiting for him in the kitchen, arms crossed. "Hey, honey," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" I took a deep breath. "Aaron, did you invite Scott on our family vacation?" Aaron's eyes widened in surprise. "What? No, of course not." "Why would you think that?" I explained about Scott's call, watching Aaron's expression change from confusion to concern. "Victoria, I swear I never invited him," Aaron said, running a hand through his hair. "I mentioned our trip to him, sure, but I never hinted that he could come along. You know this is our family time." I believed him. Aaron had never lied to me before, and the shock in his eyes was genuine. Then why would Scott think he's coming? He said he's already bought a ticket. Aaron shook his head, looking bewildered. "I have no idea. Let me call him and sort this out." I listened as Aaron called Scott back. At first, Scott stuck to his story, insisting that Aaron had invited him. But as Aaron firmly denied it, Scott's tone changed. "Come on, man," I heard Scott say, his voice carrying clearly through the phone. "You know I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. When you told me about your trip, I thought you were hinting that I should come along. We always travel together." Aaron's voice was stern. "Scott, we used to travel together in college. This is different. This is a family vacation with my wife and kids. Sorry if I wasn't clear before, but you're not coming with us." The conversation went on for a while. with Scott alternating between guilt-tripping Aaron and trying to convince him it would be fun to have him along. But Aaron stood his ground, and eventually, Scott grudgingly accepted that he wasn't invited. After Aaron hung up, he turned to me with an apologetic look. "I'm so sorry about this, Victoria. I had no idea Scott would assume he was invited. I should have been clearer with him." I gave Aaron a hug, relieved that it had all been a misunderstanding. "It's okay. It's sorted now. Let's just focus on our trip." But little did we know, this was just the beginning of our troubles with Scott. The next couple of weeks were a whirlwind of last-minute preparations. We were so busy that we hardly thought about the incident with Scott. Aaron mentioned that Scott had been a bit distant since their last phone call, but we figured he was just sulking and he'd get over it. Finally, the day of our departure arrived. We were all up at the crack of dawn, buzzing with excitement. The kids were practically bouncing off the walls, and even Aaron and I felt like little kids again. We had just finished loading our luggage into the taxi when Aaron's phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. "It's Scott," he said, looking at me uncertainly. I shrugged. Aaron answered the call, putting it on speaker so I could hear too. "Hey, Scott, what's up?" Aaron said, trying to sound casual. Scott's voice came through sounding frantic. "Aaron, thank God you answered. I need your help, man. It's an emergency." Aaron and I exchanged worried glances. "What's wrong, Scott?" Aaron asked. "I got into a car accident on my way to work. I'm okay, but my car's totaled. I need someone to pick me up. The cops are here, and I need a witness. You're the only person I could think to call." I felt my heart sink. I could see the conflict on Aaron's face. Scott had been his friend for years. And if he really was in trouble, "Scott, we're just about to leave for our vacation," Aaron said hesitantly. "Our flight is in a few hours." "Please, man," Scott pleaded. "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I really need you right now." Aaron looked at me, his eyes asking for permission. I sighed and nodded. As much as I didn't want to delay our trip, we couldn't leave Scott stranded if he really was in trouble. "Okay, Scott," Aaron said. "Text me your location. I'll be there as soon as I can." After he hung up, Aaron turned to me apologetically. "I'm so sorry, Victoria. I'll be as quick as I can. You and the kids go to the airport. I'll meet you there." "Okay, but please hurry. We can't miss this flight." Aaron kissed me quickly, hugged the kids, and then took off in our other car. I herded Kylie and Max into the taxi, trying to keep their spirits up despite the unexpected delay. As we drove to the airport, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Scott's call had come at such an inconvenient time, but surely he wouldn't lie about a car accident just to disrupt our trip, would he? We arrived at the airport and checked in. All the while, I kept anxiously checking my phone for updates from Aaron. An hour passed, then two. Our flight was due to board in just 30 minutes, and there was still no sign of Aaron. Finally, my phone rang. It was Aaron, and he sounded furious. "Victoria, you're not going to believe this," he said, his voice tight with anger. "There was no accident. When I got to the address Scott sent, he was sitting on his front porch, drunk off his ass." I felt a surge of anger. "What? Are you serious?" "Dead serious," Aaron replied. "He thought it was hilarious. Said he was just trying to see if I'd choose my best friend over some stupid family vacation." I couldn't believe it. I was speechless with rage. Scott had deliberately tried to sabotage our vacation, and he'd almost succeeded. "Where are you now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm for the kids' sake. "I'm on my way to the airport," Aaron said. "But Victoria, I don't think I'm going to make it in time for the flight." My heart sank. This couldn't be happening. We'd been planning this trip for so long, and now it was falling apart because of Scott's childish prank. "What are we going to do?" I asked, feeling tears of frustration prick in my eyes. Aaron was quiet for a moment. "You and the kids should go ahead," he said finally. "I'll catch the next flight out. I'm not letting Scott ruin this for all of us." I didn't like the idea of starting our family vacation without Aaron, but I knew he was right. We couldn't all miss the flight because of Scott's selfish actions. "Okay," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "We'll see you in Hawaii." After hanging up, I had to break the news to Kylie and Max that their dad would be joining us later. They were disappointed, but I did my best to keep their spirits up, reminding them all the fun that we would have once we get to Hawaii. As we boarded the plane, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and sadness. This was supposed to be a perfect family getaway, and Scott had already managed to cast a shadow over it. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of his attempts to sabotage our vacation. The flight to Hawaii was long and tiring, especially without Aaron to help with the kids. Kylie and Max were excited but restless, and by the time we landed in Honolulu, we were all exhausted. As we waited for our luggage, I checked my phone to find a message from Aaron. He managed to get on a later flight and would be joining us the next morning. We took a taxi to our hotel. a beautiful beachfront resort that we'd spent months researching and saving for. As we checked in, the receptionist gave me a puzzled look. She frowned at her computer screen. I'm sorry, but it looks like there's been a change to your reservation. It's been changed from a family suite to a standard room. I'm sorry, but the change was made yesterday. The family suite had been given to another guest. I was too tired to argue. With two exhausted kids and a mountain of luggage, I just wanted to get to our room. Fine, I sighed. We'll take the standard room for now, but please look into this. We really need that family suite. As we squeezed into the small standard room, I couldn't help but wonder if this was another of Scott's tricks. But how could he have changed our reservation? And why would he go to such lengths to ruin our vacation? The next morning, I woke up early, determined to sort out the room situation before Aaron arrived. After some back and forth and a conversation with the manager, the truth came out. Someone claiming to be my husband had called the hotel the day before, changing our reservation and booking the family suite under the name Scott. The hotel staff, not realizing it was a scam, had complied with the request. I was furious. Scott had gone from trying to invite himself on our vacation to actively sabotaging it. But why? What could he possibly hope to gain from this? Just then, my phone rang. It was Aaron calling to say he'd landed, and he was on his way to the hotel. I filled him in on what had happened, and I could hear the anger in his voice. When Aaron arrived at the hotel, we left the kids with the hotel's childcare service and went to confront Scott. We found him lounging by the pool in our family suite, sipping a cocktail like he didn't have a care in the world. It was very obvious that he was drunk, and the words that came out of his mouth shocked us both. Scott stood up, swaying slightly. It was clear he had had more than a few drinks. Aaron and I had been friends for years, he slurred. We used to do everything together. Then you came along and suddenly it's all about family this and kids that. What about me, huh? What about our friendship? Aaron stepped forward, his face a mix of anger and disbelief. Scott, you're my friend. But Victoria is my wife, and Kylie and Max are my kids. They're my family. You can't expect to come first all the time. Scott's face contorted with rage. So that's it, huh? You're choosing them over me? It's not about choosing, Aaron said, his voice softening slightly. It's about growing up, Scott, having different priorities. It doesn't mean we can't be friends, but things can't be like they were in college. For a moment, I thought Scott might break down, but instead he sneered. Fine, have your precious family vacation. I don't need you anyways. He stormed off, leaving Aaron and me standing by the pool, shocked by what had just happened. We spent the next hour talking to the hotel manager, explaining the situation. Thankfully, they were understanding and agreed to move Scott out of our family suite. They even offered us a complimentary upgrade to a better suite as an apology for the mix-up. We spent the next 2 weeks creating beautiful memories with our kids. We built sandcastles on Waikiki Beach, hiked to breathtaking waterfalls, watched the sunset from the top of Diamond Head, and even learned to surf. Well, Aaron and the kids did. I was content to watch from the safety of the beach. We didn't see Scott again during our stay. Though we heard from the hotel staff that he checked out the day after our confrontation, part of me felt bad for him. It couldn't be easy watching your friends move on with their lives while you stayed stuck in the past. But a bigger part of me was angry at the way he tried to sabotage our family time. As I look at my family, Aaron with his arms around me, Kylie and Max giggling as they tried to count the stars, I feel a wave of gratitude come over me. Despite Scott's attempts to ruin our vacation, we'd come out stronger as a family. We'd faced the challenge together and created moments we'd cherish forever. The next morning, we were packing to leave. Aaron's phone buzzed with a text. He looked at it, then showed it to me with a raised eyebrow. It was from Scott. I'm sorry, the message read. I was an ass. Hope you can forgive me someday. Aaron and I looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Scott's actions had been hurtful and disruptive, but he had been Aaron's friend for a long time. What do you think? Aaron asked me. I thought for a moment. I think that's a conversation for when we get home. For now, let's just enjoy our last few hours in paradise. Aaron nodded, putting his phone away. He gathered us all into a group hug. As we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, with the sound of the ocean in the background, I knew that no matter what challenges we faced, whether it was meddling friends or anything else life might throw our way, we'd get through it together. As we boarded our flight home, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. There was sadness at leaving such a beautiful place, excitement to get back to our normal lives, and a lingering frustration at Scott's actions. But mostly, I felt an overwhelming sense of love and gratitude for my family. Our Hawaiian adventure hadn't been perfect. It had been real, full of unexpected challenges and moments of frustration. but it had also been filled with laughter, love, and the kind of experiences that bind a family together. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the islands growing smaller beneath us. I thought about how sometimes the people we think are our friends can let us down, but family, whether by blood or by choice, is what truly matters. I didn't know what will happen with Scott when we get home. Will Aaron try to salvage their friendship? Will Scott genuinely try to make amends? Those are questions for another day. But for now, I'm content to sit back, hold Aaron's hand, and listen to Kylie and Max chatter excitedly about their favorite parts of the trip. We had faced Scott's attempts to sabotage our vacation, and we had come out stronger. As Hawaii disappeared from view and we soared towards home, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together as a family. Here are my thoughts about the story. First off, can we talk about the audacity of this dude inviting himself on a family vacation? That's like the ultimate party crash. But make it tropical or Hawaiian in this case? I'm sitting here thinking, bro, read the room. Or, I guess, read the beach. It's called a family vacation for a reason, my man. But oh no, it doesn't stop there. This guy goes full soap opera on us. Faking a car accident? That's some next level manipulation right there. I'm just picturing Scott sitting on his porch, probably in a Hawaiian shirt he bought specifically for the occasion, sipping on a pina colada, and cackling like a cartoon villain. I'm sorry, not really sorry, to say that life doesn't work like that. Just when you think it can't get any worse, he pulls the hotel switch. I mean, I'm all for surprise room upgrades, but not like this. Poor Victoria and the kids squished into a standard room while Scott's living it up in their family suite. The audacity, the nerve, well, you get the picture. I'm honestly surprised the hotel just changed it so easily. I'd expect more security measures just in case, but I guess not. But here's the thing that really gets me. The friendship dynamic. We've all had that friend who struggles to adapt when life changes, right? When you start dating someone or get married or have kids and suddenly your buddy's like, but what about our weekly pizza and video game nights? It's a tricky situation and usually it works itself out. But Scott? Nah. There was no solving things out or middle ground with him. I gotta give props to Aaron and Victoria though. They handled this whole situation like champs. I mean, if it were me, I might have been tempted to accidentally push Scott into the hotel pool. They took the high road. And that's some real adulting there. That's the second thing about growing up. Other than the most obvious answer of taxes, of course, nobody escapes taxes. And can we talk about Victoria for a second? This woman deserves a medal, or at least a really nice spa day. Dealing with Scott's shenanigans, managing 2 kids on a long flight solo, and still managing to salvage the vacation, she deserved that vacation the most. I honestly just feel for Victoria and Aaron's family. A family vacation means the kids are involved. And the kids should never be involved in situations like this. Never. Leave them out of it. Hopefully, this experience won't end up being something remembered for the bad, more than for the good. And now, guys, we will move on to the second story of the video. Please like the video if you have enjoyed it so far. The story starts like this. My brother tried to use my marriage as a business opportunity. My wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it turned into the beginning of a months-long nightmare. All thanks to my entrepreneurial brother, Jacob. I'm Leah. This is the story of how my own flesh and blood tried to use my marriage as his personal business opportunity. Jacob and I had always been close growing up. He was the stereotypical protective older brother, looking out for me and scaring away any boys who dared to ask me out in high school. But as we got older, our paths diverged. I pursued a career in teaching, finding fulfillment in shaping young minds. Jacob, on the other hand, fancied himself the next big tech mogul. He jumped from one startup idea to another, always convinced that his latest scheme would be one to make him millions. I met my now husband, Harry, at a friend's dinner party 5 years ago. He was charming, kind, and had a stable job as an accountant. Everything Jacob wasn't. From the moment Harry and I started dating, Jacob seemed weary of him. At first, I thought it was just his protective big brother instincts kicking in. But as our relationship progressed, I began to suspect there was more to it. When Harry proposed after 3 years of dating, I was over the moon. We started planning our wedding right away, envisioning a simple but elegant ceremony with our closest friends and family. I asked Jacob to be one of Harry's groomsmen, hoping it would help him feel more involved and accepting of our relationship. At first, Jacob seemed genuinely happy for us. He even offered to help with the wedding planning, which I gratefully accepted. Little did I know this was the beginning of his elaborate scheme. About 6 months before the wedding, Jacob started talking about his latest business idea, a wedding planning app. He claimed it would revolutionize the wedding industry. Think about it, Leah, he said excitedly over coffee one day. An all-in-one app that handles everything from guest lists to vendor bookings to day of coordination. It'll make wedding planning a breeze. I nodded politely, used to Jacob's grand ideas by now. That sounds interesting, Jacob. Good luck with it. He leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Actually, I was hoping you and Harry could help me test it out, use it for your wedding planning. It would be great real-world feedback. I hesitated. Harry and I had already done most of our planning the old-fashioned way, with spreadsheets and phone calls. I don't know, Jacob. We've already got most things sorted. Come on, sis, Jacob pleaded. It won't be any extra work for you. Just input what you've already planned into the app. It'll make things easier, I promise. Plus, you'd be helping your big brother out, please? Against my better judgment, I agreed. Jacob looked so hopeful, and I wanted to support him. All right, we'll give it a try. But if it complicates things, we're going back to our original plan. Jacob's face lit up. You won't regret this, Leah. I'll have the beta version ready for you in a week. True to his word, Jacob delivered the app a week later. Harry and I spent an evening inputting all our wedding details into it. It seemed straightforward enough, with sections for guest lists, vendor contacts, budget tracking, and a day of timeline. For the first few weeks, everything seemed fine. The app sent us helpful reminders about upcoming appointments and deadlines. Jacob checked in regularly, asking for feedback and making tweaks to the interface based on our suggestions. But then things started to get weird. It began with our guest list. We had decided on an intimate wedding with about 100 guests. One day, I opened the app to find our guest list had ballooned to over 200 people. Names I didn't recognize had been added, mostly local business owners and tech professionals. Confused, I called Jacob. Hey, what's going on with the guest list in the app? There are a bunch of people on here we didn't invite. Jacob's voice was suspiciously casual. Oh, those. They're potential investors and industry connections. I thought it would be a great opportunity to showcase the app in action. Don't worry, I'll cover their costs. I felt my blood pressure rising. Jacob, you can't just invite people to our wedding without asking us. This is our day, not a business expo. Come on, Leah, Jacob cajoled. It's a win-win. You get a bigger, fancier wedding, and I get to network. What's the harm? I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. The harm is that this is not what Harry and I want. Please remove those names immediately. Jacob grumbled but agreed. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was sorely mistaken. A few days later, Harry came to me looking perplexed. Hey, did you change our cake order? The bakery just called to confirm an order for a 10-tier cake with our faces and the app logo printed on it. My jaw dropped. What? No, I didn't change anything. A sinking feeling in my stomach. I opened the app and checked our vendor details. Sure enough, our modest 3-tier cake had been replaced with this monstrosity. Fuming, I called Jacob again. What the hell, Jacob? Why are you changing our wedding details without telling us? I thought it would be a nice surprise, Jacob said, not sounding the least bit apologetic. The cake will be a real showstopper, and don't worry about the cost, I'm covering it. That's not the point, I snapped. This is our wedding, not your personal marketing event. Change it back, now. Jacob reluctantly agreed, but I could tell he wasn't happy about it. From that point on, I started checking the app obsessively, worried about what other changes he might try to sneak in. As the weeks went by, Jacob's interface became more and more brazen. He tried to change our floral arrangements to centerpieces featuring tablet displays running his app. He attempted to replace our carefully chosen menu with trendy, Instagram-worthy dishes that were completely out of character for us. He even went so far to try and change the venue, claiming he'd found a tech-forward location that would better showcase the app's capabilities. Each time, Harry and I had to put our feet down and insist on sticking to our original plans. It was exhausting and stressful. The final straw came about a month before the wedding. I was at a bridal shop for my final dress fitting when I received a frantic call from Harry. Leah, you need to come to the printer's office right now, he said, his voice tight with anger. You won't believe what Jacob's done. I rushed to the printers, still in my wedding dress, my heart pounding. When I arrived, Harry was standing there, holding our wedding invitations with a look of disbelief on his face. Look at these, he said, thrusting the invitations at me. I gasped as I saw what he meant. Instead of the elegant, simple design we had chosen, the invitations were garnished and overloaded with information. The app's logo was prominently displayed, along with QR codes and a blurb about how guests could experience the future of wedding planning. Your brother dropped these off this morning, the printer explained apologetically. He said there had been a last-minute change, and these were the approved designs. I felt like I was going to be sick. This was too far. Jacob had crossed the line, and I knew there was no going back. Harry and I canceled the invitation order on the spot, grateful that Jacob hadn't managed to mail them out yet. Then, still in my wedding dress, I marched over to Jacob's apartment, with Harry following close behind. I pounded on Jacob's door, beyond furious. When he opened it, his smug smile quickly faded as he took in my expression and attire. Leah, what's going on? Why are you in your dress? I shoved the invitation into his hands. What the hell is this, Jacob? How dare you try to change our invitations without our permission? Jacob had the decency to look embarrassed. I thought it would be a good marketing opportunity. The invitations would really showcase what the app can do. Our wedding is not a marketing opportunity, I shouted, years of pent-up frustration finally boiling over. It's supposed to be about Harry and me, about our love and commitment to each other, but you've turned it into some business launch party. Harry put his hand on my shoulder, his voice calm but firm. Jacob, we've put up with a lot over the past few months. We've tried to be understanding and supportive of your business venture, but this is going too far. You've repeatedly disrespected our wishes and tried to take over our wedding for your own benefit. Jacob's face hardened. I'm trying to help you. This app could be worth millions, and I'm giving you the chance to be a part of it from the ground up. Do you know how many people would kill for this opportunity? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We never asked for this opportunity, Jacob. We just wanted a simple, beautiful wedding surrounded by the people we love, not whatever this has turned into. Fine, Jacob snapped. If you don't want my help, I'll just find another couple to test the app. Maybe they'll appreciate what I'm offering. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. Jacob, I love you. You're my brother, but I can't let you be involved in our wedding anymore. Not if you can't respect our wishes. Jacob's eyes widened in shock. What are you saying? Harry spoke up, his voice gentle but firm. We think it's best if you don't come to the wedding. Jacob, we can't trust that you won't try to turn this into a business event. Jacob's face crumpled, a mix of anger and hurt flashing in his eyes. You're uninviting me from your wedding? Your own brother? I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I'm sorry, Jacob, but you've left us no choice. This day is supposed to be about Harry and me, and I can't spend it worried about what you might do next. We left Jacob standing in his doorway, looking shell-shocked. As we walked away, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. I knew we had done the right thing, but it broke my heart that it had come to this. The few weeks were tense. Jacob tried calling and texting multiple times, alternating between angry accusations and pleading apologies. I stood firm, making it clear that while I still loved him, he wouldn't be welcome at the wedding unless he could prove that he had truly changed his attitude. As the big day approached, I found myself constantly on the edge, half expecting Jacob to show up and cause a scene. We hired extra security for the venue, just in case. But when our wedding day finally arrived, it was everything Harry and I had dreamed of. The ceremony was intimate and heartfelt, with our closest friends and family witnessing our vows. The reception was a joyful celebration of our love, mixed with good faith, music, and laughter. As I danced with Harry, surrounded by the people we loved most in the world, I felt a pang of sadness that Jacob wasn't there to share in our happiness. But I also felt relief that we had been able to have the wedding we truly wanted without any business-related interference. Our honeymoon was a blissful escape from the stress of the past few months. Harry and I spent 2 weeks exploring the beautiful beaches of Bali, relishing in our newlywed status and the peace that came from being far away from family drama. As much as I tried to push thoughts of Jacob out of my mind, I couldn't help but wonder if he had tried to crash the wedding or cause any last-minute problems. When we returned home, I was almost afraid to check my phone and email, half expecting a barrage of angry messages from Jacob. To my surprise, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no emails, just silence. At first, I felt relieved. Maybe Jacob had finally gotten the message and was respecting our wishes. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the silence became deafening. I found myself checking my phone more often, hoping for some sign that my brother wanted to make amends. Harry noticed my distraction one evening as we were having dinner. You're thinking about Jacob again, aren't you? He asked gently. I nodded, pushing my food around on my plate. I never thought it would end up like this. He's my brother, you know? We used to be so close. Harry reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I know, honey, but remember how stressed and unhappy you were when he was trying to take over our wedding? Sometimes distance is necessary for our own well-being. I knew Harry was right, but it didn't make the situation any easier. As much as Jacob had hurt and disappointed me, he was still my family. The thought of spending the rest of our lives estranged felt wrong somehow. A few months after the wedding, we ran into Jacob unexpectedly at a local coffee shop. The encounter was awkward and tense. Jacob's eyes were cold as he looked at us, and he made no move to approach. We exchanged stiff nods of acknowledgement before he turned and walked out, leaving his coffee untouched on the counter. That brief encounter stirred up all the emotions I'd been trying to suppress. Later that night, I broke down crying in Harry's arms. I don't know how to fix this, I sobbed. I don't even know if it can be fixed. Harry held me close, stroking my hair. It's not your responsibility to fix it, Leah. Jacob is the one who needs to realize what he did wrong and make amends. All we can do is focus on our life together and hope that someday he'll come around. As time passed, we settled into our new life as a married couple. We bought a house, advanced in our careers, and even started talking about having children. But the rift without Jacob remained, a constant undercurrent of sadness in our otherwise happy life. We heard through the family grapevine that Jacob had moved to Silicon Valley, still chasing his dreams of startup success. He rarely came home for holidays, and when he did, we made sure to schedule our visits with family at different times to avoid uncomfortable encounters. On the rare occasion when we were forced to be in the same room, like at our cousin's wedding a year later, the tension was palpable. Jacob would plaster on a fake smile for photos, but his eyes remained cold and distant. As our first wedding anniversary approached, Harry suggested we have a small party to celebrate with friends and family. As I was addressing invitations, I paused when I came to Jacob's name on my list. Should we invite him? I asked Harry, my voice uncertain. Harry had looked at me sympathetically. Do you want to? I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me had desperately wanted to extend an olive branch, to try and bridge the gap that had grown between us. But another part remembered all the stress and heartache that Jacob had caused, how he tried to co-opt one of the most important days of our lives for his own gain. In the end, I set the invitation aside unsigned. No, I said quietly. I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Harry nodded understanding and pulled me into a hug. It's okay, Aaliyah. Maybe someday things will change, but for now, we need to focus on the people who respect and support us. As I melted into Harry's embrace, I realized that he was right. While the estrangement from Jacob was painful, it had also brought a sense of peace to our lives. We were free to make our own decisions without fear of manipulation or interference. Our home was a haven of love and mutual respect, not a battleground for conflicting agendas. I still held out hope that someday Jacob would realize the error of his ways and reach out to make amends. But I also knew that I couldn't put my life on hold waiting for that day to come. Harry and I had a beautiful life together, filled with love, laughter, and dreams for the future. We had weathered the storm of family conflict and come out stronger from it. As we celebrated our anniversary surrounded by true friends and supportive family members, I felt a sense of bittersweet acceptance. Life hadn't turned out exactly how I had imagined. The absence of my once close brother was a constant ache, but it was beautiful and fulfilling nonetheless. I raised my glass for a toast, looking around at the smiling faces of those who had stood by us through thick and thin. To love, loyalty, and staying true to ourselves, I said, my voice strong and clear. As everyone clinked glasses, Harry's arm around my waist, and our friends cheering, I knew that we made the right choice. Our wedding may have been the catalyst for this estrangement, but it had also been the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, one filled with honesty, respect, and unwavering commitment to each other. The road ahead may not be easy, and the pain of family estrangement would likely always be there. But with Harry by my side and the lessons we'd learned about setting boundaries and standing up for ourselves, I felt ready to face whatever challenges life might bring. Our love story hadn't been perfect, but it was ours. And that made it more valuable than any business opportunity could ever be. Here are my thoughts on the story. Jacob, the brother from hell. I mean, damn, this dude takes Bridezilla to a whole new level, and he's not even the one getting married. Talk about control freak with the side of narcissism. Heck, I was half expecting him to show up at the wedding in a white dress screaming, "It should have been me." I was expecting for something to have been changed at the venue, but I'm both surprised and immensely relieved that it wasn't. But seriously, folks, the story hit me right in the feels. I'm sure a lot of you guys have siblings or even brothers, and I'm sure you guys have your fair share of arguments over the years. But trying to turn your sister's wedding into a business networking event, that's a whole new level of messed up. It's like, dude, did you miss the memo on what weddings are actually about? Usually it's the bride or some jealous ex trying to make the day about me, me, me. But this was a twist, and not a good one. Why can't we just have nice things in life? Now let's talk about our girl, Leah. Man, I was rooting for her the whole time. You can feel the stress and anxiety oozing off the page as she tried to navigate this minefield of family drama. And can we give a round of applause to Harry? This guy's patience deserves a freaking medal. If I were him, I'd have been tempted to accidentally forget to invite Jacob to the wedding altogether. But here's where things get real, people. The moment in the coffee shop after the wedding. Oof, I felt that in my soul. You know that awkward moment when you run into an ex at the grocery store? Yeah, multiply that by 1,000. And you've got Leah and Harry's encounter with Jacob. I was cringing back so hard I think I pulled a muscle. And let me tell you, that part about addressing the invitations for their anniversary party, we've all had those moments where we're staring at a name, wondering if we should extend an olive branch or just let sleeping dogs lie. It's like playing emotional Russian roulette, and Leah chose to keep that gun in its holster. Can't say I blame her, to be honest. But here's the thing that really got me thinking. As much as Jacob was a total douche canoe throughout the story, I couldn't help but feel sad for him too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excusing his behavior. That was grade A assholery. But imagine being so caught up in your own ambitions that you alienate your family and miss out on one of the most important days of your sister's life. That's gotta leave a mark, right? It's like, at what point does ambition cross the line into obsession? When does the pursuit of success become more important than the people we love? Jacob's living his Silicon Valley dream. But at what cost? He's missing out on holidays, family gatherings, and the chance to be an uncle if Leah and Harry decide to have kids. Is any business still really worth all that? For Jacob's sake and future, I hope that it was at least a little worth it. Otherwise, it would just be a horrible loss all around. It never should have happened, obviously, but Jacob, I hope he'll make his amends. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.